The subject of this video is how you can find trig values of any angle given. Like I know in the previous video we did the unit circle. Now we're doing any angle out there. We just really need to know the coordinate of that angle or the quadrant or something to be able to find that. So that's what we're going to focus on today. The steps in which we're going to do that is given a point, we're going to plot that point in the correct quadrant. And then we're going to create a triangle with that. And the triangle is going to be created with the x-axis. Okay, so you're going to create and label the triangle, and you want to create it with the x-axis. You also are going to label theta, and theta is also the angle created by, it was on the x-axis. Once we do that, we're going to calculate the missing side. Sometimes we need that, sometimes we don't. I'm going to just for practice right now, but you can determine if you need it or not. So you're going to calculate the missing side, and you're going to do that with Pythagorean theorem. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's what you're going to use for that. When you do that, you want to disregard the negatives here. And then the last step is to make sure that you give the correct trig ratio. And you want to make sure that you are paying attention to the sign. So be sure that you're using the correct sign. And also be sure to rationalize your denominator if need be. All right, so let's hop to this. I have 4 examples, and then I will put the answers on the back 6 that I ask you to try on your own. So here's again, following our steps, we're gonna plot the point first. These are both positive, so this is gonna be in quadrant 1. It doesn't actually matter where this coordinate is. So I'm gonna create a triangle with the x-axis. To get to that coordinate, I would have had to have gone over radical 19, so that's going to go on the bottom, and I would have had to gone up 9, so that's going to go on the side. And then to label my angle, theta is with the x-axis here. So I've done step 1, I've plotted my point. I've done step 2, I've labeled my triangle with my side lengths given and theta. And I now need to calculate the missing side. I know in this case, because I'm doing cotangent, I don't necessarily need it, but I just want to remind you that you would just do, if you were finding another ratio here, you would square both, which is 19 plus 81, which is c squared. And then remember, to get c, you take the square root. So in this case, c is 10. From here, we know that cotangent is adjacent over opposite, so we would say that this is radical 19 over 9, and that would be it. Because this is in quadrant 1, everything is positive here, so I can honestly say that your ratio is going to be positive as well. As we move, I'm going to go across here. As we move to maybe more of the negative side of things, if I make let's say this is my coordinate where this point is, to get to my x coordinate would have been here on this base, which is negative radical 7. And to get down, my y coordinate would have been negative 3, theta being right there. So when I go to find my missing side, because I do need it this time, because I'm finding cosine, I need the hypotenuse, I'm going to do 3 squared. Notice how I'm not including the negatives here, because they're not necessary when you're actually finding a side length. So this is 9 plus 7, which equals c squared. So 16 equals c squared. So once I take the square root, I get 4. At this point, when I go to actually find my trig value, I'm going to pay attention to those signs because they do help me. If I follow my signs specifically, I'll be able to get the right sign for my trig value. So the cosine here would be adjacent over hypotenuse, which is negative radical 7 over 4. And that is my answer. Cosine should be negative here. This is where x is negative. So that's why that is the appropriate sign there. As we move down here, we're doing something in quadrant 4 now. So if I plot my point and create that triangle again with the x-axis, so I'm going to travel it up to the x-axis, always the x, and I create my angle here. Labeling my sides, I would go across 2 radical 5, and I would go down 4. With sine, I would also need the hypotenuse, so I'm going to do 2 radical 5 squared, and again, disregard the negative for that 4 squared. So this would be 4 times 5 because I square the 2 and drop the radical for the 5, plus 16 equals c squared. So 20 and 16 make 36. And once I take the square root, I get 6 equals c. From there, if I wanted to find the sign of that, that's opposite over adjacent, so that's negative 4 over 6. And then when I reduce that, I get negative 2/3. So that would be the appropriate sign. And sign is negative there. That's why y is negative. And last but not least, something in the second quadrant. Again, plotting my coordinate, connecting to the x-axis here, creating theta, labeling my triangle. So let's see here. This would be negative 8, and this would be radical 17. Cosine needs the hypotenuse, so 8 squared plus radical 17 squared. When you do this, you get 81 equals c squared, and when you take the square root, you get 9. So the cosine would be negative 8 over 9. There. I'm going to give you the answers to the 6 in the back with no work, and I really would appreciate giving yourself an opportunity to try those 6 in the back and see how you do. And if at any point you have questions, always reach out and ask. I am here to help.